This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to easily and efficiently build and manage your own website. Hi everyone, I'm FlygonHG, and this is the video of my attempts at a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon HeartGold using only Gift Pokémon. To see what I define as Hardcore Nuzlocke Rules, check out the description below. But in short, no items in battle, no overleveling past Gym Leader's Ace before the start of the battle, and we're playing on set mode. Anyone who's played Pokémon knows that the primary way to get a Pokémon is to find it in the wild and through the forces of a technological innovation known as a Pokéball, force it into an endless servitude that will ultimately turn into a friendship via Stockholm Syndrome. However, in every Pokémon game, there are a handful of Pokémon that are given to you by NPCs, without you having to actually catch them. In HeartGold and Soul Silver, there's actually quite a few of them, so it provides the perfect opportunity to see if I can complete a Hardcore Nuzlocke without catching a single Pokémon. Admittedly, I will have to catch 2 Pokémon for specific HMs at certain points, but other than that, I will be doing absolutely no work whatsoever to get a Pokémon. I will be purely relying on the generosity of strangers and their gifts, or GIFs, depending on who you ask. Just as a quick reminder, before we start, I play with Species Clause, so I'll be able to reroll encounters until I get a unique encounter, but I can only use one of each unique evolution line. Okay, let's see how this goes. Our journey begins by being presented with our first gift Pokémon from Professor Elm. I get my choice of the 3 Johto starters, and while it's normally not advisable to go with the water starters since water types are a dime a dozen, I think it makes sense for this challenge. So Totodile joins the team, and I name him Justin. Then I'm confronted by a mysterious and aggressive child who Justin is able to easily devastate with a few scratches. It's really funny to me when the rival in this game uses the relentlessly happy Chikorita, Bayleaf, and Meganium because they don't match his personality at all. After that, I narc to the cops about this mysterious boy whose name is pronounced either Jif or Gif, not sure which, but it certainly doesn't matter. After that, I head to Violet City where I get possibly one of the weirdest gift Pokémon of any Pokémon game. I honestly didn't even know that this existed until researching for this challenge, but there's a guy named Primo in the Violet City Pokémon Center that will give you one of 3 eggs if you tell him a specific set of phrases that are determined by your individual trainer ID. It's pretty unnecessarily complicated, but the result is that after I give him some keywords that read like a bot-generated YouTube comment, I'm able to get an egg, which, after a healthy bit of exercise, hatches into a beautiful baby cow on Route 36. Welcome to the world, Jeff. I hope you're ready for a life of combat and mortal peril. This leads us to Falkner, but as you might expect, with our newly hatched electric type, I'm able to finish off his Jotonian birds without too much trouble. A few Thundershocks from Jeff, and all his birds have been cooked to a crisp. And that's badge number 1. It seems that Professor Elm has a lot of Pokemon that he wants to just dump onto the first random child that moves into town, because he calls me to give me an egg, which is being FedExed to the local Pokemart. I personally would never trust any postal service to deliver something as fragile as an egg, but thankfully I received the egg in one piece. Then, like any sane person, I hold onto the egg and aggressively run back and forth in a straight line until it hatches. Our egg hatches into a Togepi. Side note here, is Togepi's shell part of its body? Like, is it some kind of turtle shell thing? Or am I to assume that that's literally the egg that it hatched out of? Aren't eggs filled with like a bunch of yolk and gross growth fluids? Togepi probably smells really terrible. And speaking of things that are terrible, my Togepi, who I named Jennifer, has the ability Hustle instead of Serene Grace. Atrocious ability for a Togepi. Oh, and it's also adamant. Atrocious nature for a Togepi. But I'll get over it. After another aggressive amount of walking, Jennifer decides that I'm pretty okay, and our friendship causes her to evolve into Togetic. Jeff also evolves into Flaffy, so that'll be useful for the Bugsy fight since his Scyther is tough, but thankfully weak to electric type attacks. Still though, Flaffy isn't exactly the best Pokemon, so this might go poorly. Bugsy, sporting a dopey outfit that screams, "I dress myself," leads Scyther, so Jeff comes out. Scyther goes for a Leer as Jeff hits a Thundershock. It doesn't do too much damage, but it gets a pretty nice paralysis. So on the next turn, I switch to Jennifer as Scyther gets fully paralyzed. Scyther hits a hard quick attack on the next turn as Jennifer goes for a charm to lower her attack. Then Jennifer uses Extra Sensory, which triggers Scyther's Citrus Berry as she goes for Focus Energy. Focus Energy ends up being a pretty good move because she immediately gets a critical hit with Quick Attack on the next turn as Jennifer hits another Extra Sensory. Then I switch back to Jeff, who tanks a Quick Attack. Scyther hits another Quick Attack, which also unfortunately crits, as Jeff retaliates with another Thundershock that leaves Scyther in the red. Bugsy uses a super potion as we hit another Thundershock, but it's not enough for a 2-hit kill here. So unfortunately, all we can do is hit another Thundershock and hope for a full paralysis. But Scyther obviously does not get fully paralyzed, and so Jeff falls, taken out of the world almost as quickly as he was brought in. Rest well, Jeff. I bring in Justin to take out the Metapod that was brought in from Scyther using U-turn. I use this as an opportunity to build up a few attack boosts from Rage. So once Scyther comes out, I'm able to easily finish it off with a boosted bite. The Kakuna also goes down to 2 bites, but not without poisoning me first. And so with that, we've gotten the second gym badge. And Justin also managed to level up to level 18 during that fight, so he evolves into Croconaw. Man, Bugsy is such a square. I can't believe he managed to create a Flaffy-shaped space in our team. Ugh, spaces caused by squares are the worst. I hate those square-caused spaces. But what I don't hate is this video's sponsor, Squarespace. See what I did there? Squarespace is an online platform that helps you build and manage your own website, whether that's an online store for your business or a personal blog for your thoughts. If you've ever tried to set up a website, you probably know that it's a lot more complicated than you might think it is. But Squarespace streamlines the whole process, making it so easy that even I, with my sole single useless PhD in biomedical engineering, was able to set up a website in no time. Using Squarespace's custom templates, I was able to easily create poppyhg.com, the world's premier online destination for PoppyHG content. Squarespace also has a ton of other really useful features, like analytic information about the traffic of your website, the ability to add and play embedded videos directly on your website, and even Squarespace member areas, which can be used to connect with your audience and create exclusive member-only content. So, if you're looking to start a website for your business or hobby, then you should absolutely check out squarespace.com. Well, first you should go check out poppyhg.com because my puppy is unbelievably cute. But then you should head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch the second best website in the world, after poppyhg.com of course, you can use my custom link to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using the code below. Thanks so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. After the death of our beloved Jeff, we get to Goldenrod City, where I'm able to get a gift EV from Bill. Or so I thought. I guess that's later. However, I am able to get a gift Spearow from the guard in the northern gate of Goldenrod City. This encounter technically counts as a Route 35 encounter, so we're still safe to get the EV in Goldenrod City later on. Technically, I'm supposed to deliver this Spearow to this guy's friend, but I will not be doing that. Finders keepers. Don't trust random children to deliver your birds. The Spearow also comes with a dumb nickname, so I change it to Jeanette using magic. Unfortunately, Jeanette was gifted to me at level 20, which is above the level cap, so I'm left with just Jennifer and Justin for the fight against Whitney. I lead with Justin as Whitney leads with her Clefairy. I go for bites as Clefairy tries her luck with Metronome. She gets unlucky and pulls Spit Up. And then she gets even unluckier on the next turn because we flinch her with Bite. I go for a Water Gun here on the next turn so that Whitney wastes a Super Potion on the next turn, and so I take a Soft Aerial Ace as punishment. A few more bites finish off Clefairy as I only need to endure one more Soft Double Slap. Miltank is last, so I start off with a Protect. Then I switch to Jennifer as Miltank goes for an Attract, which she's immune to. Then Miltank hits a hard critical hit Stomp, which also flinches. So I have to risk a crit here. Thankfully, Stomp doesn't crit and Jennifer is able to get off a Roost, but I kinda gotta go for another one. Fortunately, we do indeed get another Roost off. Then we avoid a flinch crit from another Stomp and get off a Charm. With that, non-critical hits are much more manageable and we can Roost up to almost full health. Then it's a Yawn. After a flinch, I mean. This fight is always super annoying because Miltank has a Lumberry, so I actually need to Yawn it again, all the while hoping for no critical hits. I am able to avoid critical hits, but the flinches come pretty consistently. Regardless, we're able to get the Bovine to sleep and then start firing away with Extrasensory. It takes a while to take out the Miltank because we're pretty weak, and we need to keep putting it back to sleep and roosting up to full health. And Whitney heals. But against all odds, despite many flinches, things end up working out. I think Miltank actually runs out of Stomp PP at some point, because it starts going for Rollout. But at this point, it's too late. A few more hits from Extrasensory finish off the Miltank. This is always such a volatile and RNG heavy fight, but we win it. After that, Jeanette rejoins the team and quickly evolves into Fearow. Then I make my way to Ecruteak City where Bill is doing whatever Bill does when he isn't turning himself into a Pokémon. So I stalk him back to his parents' tiny bedless house in Goldenrod City, where he finally gives me an Eevee. I name him Joey. And then I head off to the Pokeathlon Dome, where after some embarrassing performances from my Pokemon, I can get enough points to buy a Thunderstone, which I use to immediately evolve Joey into a Jolteon. A speedy electric type will be a great addition to the team and a worthy replacement for Jeff. But in literally his first battle, I pit Joey against some low-level Voltorbs, thinking it'll be pretty easy for him to take them out. And, well, I forgot about Sonic Boom, which always does 20 damage. Not my best moment. Rest well, Joey. Well, next up is Morty, but because we have 2 normal types, he's very, very easy. Jeanette starts off by killing his Ghastly with a single Aerial Ace. Haunter is out second and manages to survive an Aerial Ace and hit a Hypnosis. So I switch to Jennifer as Morty uses a Hyper Potion. On the next turn, Morty misses a Hypnosis, and then Jennifer knocks out Haunter with an extra Sensory. Gengar is third, so I switch to Jeanette on a Hypnosis. And then I take a turn of sleep as Gengar uses Mean Look. Then Jeanette sleeps for like 4 more turns as Gengar continually fails Sucker Punch. Once Jeanette wakes up and hits a Leer, Jeanette goes for an Aerial Ace, which does a good chunk of damage to activate a Citrus Berry. And then Gengar misses a Hypnosis. So, Jeanette hits another Aerial Ace, which leaves Gengar in the red, and then he does indeed hit a Hypnosis. Gengar has 1 more Sucker Punch, which connects on the next turn and crits, but it doesn't matter. He now no longer has a way to hit Jeanette for damage, so once she wakes up, an Aerial Ace takes out the Gengar. Last is Haunter, who tanks an Aerial Ace and then uses Mean Look. Morty goes for a Hyper Potion, so we hit another Aerial Ace to bring Haunter back down to the yellow. Then Sucker Punch does a small amount of damage, and 1 last Aerial Ace finishes him off, winning us the 4th gym badge. After this, we're able to get the HM for Surf, which lets me go to Cyanwood City. There, a man gifts me with his Shuckle, brilliantly named Shucky. I could rename him using magic, but as the old adage goes, don't f***y with Shucky. So Shucky he shall stay. Justin also evolves into Feraligatr just in time to face Chuck, though if everything goes well, we won't need him. Chuck leads Primeape, so I lead Jeanette. She hits an Aerial Ace, which just barely doesn't kill Primeape, but then it just goes for a double team. So after Chuck heals with a Hyper Potion, 2 more Aerial Aces finish it off. Next is Poliwrath, but it just tries to go for Focus Punch, and then Jeanette kills it with a critical hit Aerial Ace. Easiest gym badge ever. Good game, Chuck. At this point in the game, since there aren't any more possible encounters for a while, all I can do is just breeze through the gym leaders. There is some Team Rocket stuff, but unlike in my Smeargle lock, it's all incredibly easy in this playthrough. So we get to Price pretty quickly. He leads Seal, and I lead Jeanette, who hits a hard Aerial Ace as Seal sets up Hail. I decide to go for Pursuit to leave Seal in the red so that Price will heal, but it backfires a bit since Seal just goes for Rest, so I'm taking more Hail Chip for no reason. But on the next turn, Price does heal, so we do waste one of his Hyper Potions, and then another Aerial Ace finishes off the Seal. So Dewgong is second, and I switch to Justin as it goes for an Aurora Beam. Then I hit a Crunch, which causes a defense drop. The drop doesn't ultimately matter though, because Crunch is still a 3-hit kill, as Dewgong just does a bit of damage with Aurora Beams. Last is Piloswine, who manages to survive a Surf, but then he just sets up Hail. That ends up being almost really bad, because thanks to Snowcloak, we miss Surf. Twice. And so now if it misses again, I'm dead. I decide to gamble a 3rd Surf, which thankfully does connect, so crisis averted, but that could have been pretty bad. After that, it's a quick trip to Olivine City to kill Jasmine. Justin can learn Dig, so he's able to one-shot Jasmine's Magnemities, which is good, because our team is kinda weak to electric types. If only we had a Pokemon that was immune to electric types via an ability or something. Anyways, Jasmine also has a Steelix, which we drown with a Surf. Easy. After saving a dying medium from broadcasting Team Rocket propaganda, we get to the 8th and final gym. This one's always super scary because Claire's Sniper Kingdra has a massive amount of potential damage at its disposal. So, the safest way to do this fight is to position yourself to be able to one-shot the Kingdra before it gets off an attack. Fortunately, Claire kindly leads with a fairly useless Gyarados, so we lead with Shucky in his inaugural battle. I actually also previously used Shucky in a fight in the Goldenrod Underground, where he slowly wrapped my rival Sneasel to death, but for all intents and purposes, this is Shucky's debut. Gyarados goes for a Dragon Rage, which does a huge chunk since Shucky has almost no HP, but an Oran Berry means he'll survive another one as he gets off a Flash. Gyarados misses a 2nd Dragon Rage, so Shucky gets off another Flash for free. He does get hit by a 3rd Dragon Rage though, so after a 3rd Flash we switch to Jennifer, who would be immune to Dragon Rage if she was Fairy in this generation, but she's not. Still, it's completely safe to yawn the Gyarados here, and then switch to Justin as Gyarados misses yet another Dragon Rage. With the Gyarados asleep, Justin gets to set up 3 Swords Dances, and then crunch his way through Claire's entire team. Using Flash with Shucky and the yawn with Jennifer was probably a bit overkill, since this Gyarados really can't do much to Justin, but better safe than sorry. Anyways, that's badge number 8. With that, we've almost beaten the game. There's very little that can go wrong from here on out until it's time to face Lance. First though, Claire tells me to go to the Dragon's Den, because she doesn't believe that I'm actually worthy of challenging the Elite Four. Which is a little offensive. I just crushed her, and I obviously have complete mastery of this game. Nothing, and I mean nothing, is too difficult for me. Well, that sucks. Sorry, Jeanette. Rest in peace. Okay, well, I'm down to 3 Pokemon now, but fortunately I'm able to get 2 new Pokemon. The first is a special Dratini that knows Extreme Speed, which is given to me by the Dragon Master. This would be a super cool Pokemon if it wasn't for the fact that the Elite Four level cap is well below the level that Dragonair evolves into Dragonite. Oh well. I name our new noodle John. Then, now that I can use the HM for Waterfall, I can go into the recesses of Mount Mordor and find the Karate Master, who gifts me what is very clearly just a human child that we are kind of pretending is a Pokemon, but I'm not above using small children in combat, so welcome to the team, Jimothy. By pumping Jimothy up with Iron, we're able to ensure that he evolves into a Hitmonchan at level 20, which, with Iron Fist, has great coverage with Fire, Thunder, and Ice Punch. I also evolve John into Dragonair, though I do delay his evolution until level 41 so that he knows Dragon Dance, in case we need it for the Elite Four. Then it's time for the Kimono Girl Gauntlet, but with our relatively diverse team, this actually isn't all that difficult, so let's just skip it. We can also fly through the confrontation with Big Bird since 2 waterfalls from Justin take it out before it can do too much damage. That leads us to our final confrontation with our rival. But Jimothy absolutely eviscerates him. A Drain Punch kills his Sneasel. A Fire Punch kills his Frail Kadabra. A Thunder Punch kills his Golbat. An Ice Punch... Okay, well actually Meganium survives that one and sets up a Reflect, but then another Ice Punch kills it on the next turn. Haunter is next and survives a Thunder Punch thanks to the aforementioned Reflect, but another one finishes it off on the next turn. And last is Magneton, who hangs on from a Drain Punch and then hits a Thunder Wave. Then it just uses Spark, so a Drain Punch knocks it out. That was kind of embarrassing, but hey, we're at the Elite Four. Here's our final team of 5 Pokemon, leveled up to the level cap of 47 to match Karen's Houndoom. I think this is definitely doable, but losing Jolteon and to a lesser extent Fearow for no reason definitely makes this significantly harder. Let's see if we've got what it takes. First up is Will, and honestly the easiest way to do this is to just set up a Swords Dance with Justin and then sweep with Crunch. So that's exactly what I do. Pretty easy. We also had a Person Berry in case the Xatu chose to hit us with Confuse Ray, so this was impossible to lose. Second is Koga, who leads with an Ariados, and I lead with Jimothy, who is holding a Charcoal. This lets him one-shot the Ariados with a Fire Punch, and just for kicks, we get a critical hit. Crobat comes out second, so I switch to Jennifer as Crobat uses Double Team, which is super annoying. Crobat goes for another one, but Jennifer is able to connect with an Extra Sensory anyways. Then Crobat uses Wing Attack, and Jennifer hits another Extra Sensory, and a Citrus Berry means that Koga won't heal. So we just need to hit one more. But first we need to use Roost and Wish to stay out of crit range. We end up missing a few Extra Sensories here, so it does take a little longer than I would have liked, but eventually we connect and the Crobat goes down. Next up is Fortress. I'm scared about it exploding here, so I use Yawn as it sets up a layer of Toxic Spikes. And then I set up a Wish. Fortress uses Swift and then it falls asleep. Then I switch to Jimothy, who does get poisoned, but is able to knock out the sleeping Bagworm with a Fire Punch on the next turn. Next is Venomoth, so I kill it with another Fire Punch. And then last is Muck, who actually poses quite a problem. We don't really have a quick way to kill it, it can set up Minimize, and Gunk Shot can hit most of our team really hard. Enter Shucky. Thanks to his massive defense and poison resistance, Shucky is the perfect Muck counter. Shucky knows Rest, Protect, Wrap, and Sandstorm. Muck knows Gunk Shot, Toxic, Screech, and Minimize. So, once he's out of Gunk Shot and Toxic PP, he's completely useless. Now at first I try to not resort to stalling with Shucky, because it takes forever. But after getting hit by a very hard gunk shot on Jennifer, which would have just killed if it crit, it's pretty clear that this is the only way to do this. I'll spare you the details as long as you remember the one main takeaway. Do not f***y with Shucky. Once Muck is out of Toxic and Gunk Shot PP, I bring in Justin, set up 3 Swords Dances, and then just finish it off with an Aerial Ace. The whole thing took over 20 minutes. We definitely earned that one. Now it's time that we talk about Bruno, but this poor himbo leads with a Hitmontop that loves to spam counter. So Justin just sets up 2 Swords Dances and then Waterfall kills all of Bruno's big dumb Pokemon. Bruno does save his strongest fighting type for last though, so Waterfall is arranged to kill here. And if it doesn't, it'll retaliate with a very strong stab fighting type attack. But thankfully we get the one shot. Phew, that was a relief. That's Bruno defeated. Last for the Elite Four is Karen. She leads Umbreon, which can be annoying if it tries to set up with Double Team. But Jimothy is able to outspeed and at least do big damage with Drain Punch before it sets up a Double Team. And then Jimothy hits a second one. So suck it, Karen. Next up is Murkrow. Now, for whatever reason, instead of just straight up clicking Thunder Punch or Ice Punch for the one shot here, I switched to John out of fear of the Pluck. This is a classic case of me overthinking things. John then tanks a Feint Attack, only to miss a Dragon Rush. Great debut battle, buddy. Well, now we are at risk to a crit, so I switch to Shucky, who gets hit by a Pluck. I forget to refill Shucky's PP, but that should be okay. With Wrap and Sandstorm, I'm able to chip away at the Murkrow, and there's really not much that it can do, since Rest keeps Shucky healthy. Even a crit doesn't do much damage. Murkrow eventually uses Whirlwind, which brings out Jimothy, and it's at this point that I remember that Jimothy has Thunder Punch, so I kill the Murkrow. I know, not my best work, but whatever. Gengar comes out next, and I switch to Jennifer, who gets hit hard by a Focus Blast. Then I switch to Shucky, who tanks another Focus Blast. I'm guaranteed to wake up here, so I go for a Protect to waste another Focus Blast PP. Then Gengar hits a third Focus Blast, probably the first time that has ever happened, and we use Rest. Gengar then rudely uses Spite to drain my Rest PP, and then Gengar uses his last Focus Blast PP. So I switch to Jennifer since Gengar no longer has a way to hit her. I roost up to get back to full HP, just in case, and then I switch to Justin. He's holding a Choice Scarf, so we're able to outspeed, but a Crunch is just shy of the one-shot. So Karen heals, but 2 more Crunches take out the Gengar. Vileplume is next, so I switch to Jennifer on a Stun Spore, but a Lumberry cures the paralysis. Then Jennifer hits an Extra Sensory as Vileplume misses a Stun Spore. 2 more Extra Sensories finish off the Vileplume, as Jennifer just takes a bit of damage from a Petal Dance. Last for Karen is her Houndoom, so I switch to Justin as Houndoom goes for a greedy Nasty Plot, and then a Waterfall cleanly knocks it out, winning us the battle. Last up is Lance. I'm not sure if this is unique to me for some reason, but I find Lance in this game to be very difficult. Maybe it's just because of the challenges I choose, I don't know. But I tend to psych myself out against Lance in these games, and it's no different this time around. I start by accidentally leading with Jimothy, when I fully meant to be leading with Jennifer. Whoops. Well, I immediately switch to John to shake off an Intimidate and to tank a Waterfall. Then I switch back to Jimothy on an Ice Fang, which fortunately doesn't freeze. So a Thunder Punch finishes off the Gyarados. Next up is Charizard. I was anticipating Aerodactyl, but oh well. I switch to Justin, who tanks more damage from Air Slash than I would like. Waterfall also frustratingly doesn't get the one-shot on Charizard, so it's able to fire off another Air Slash. After a turn of healing from Lance, 2 more Waterfalls take out the Charizard. Then it's Lance's first Dragonite. This one has Thunder, so it's really hard to get a safe switch into Jimothy for the Ice Punch. I decide to switch to Shucky, who unfortunately has to take a critical hit Thunder on the switch. I might be able to stall out this Dragonite of its powerful moves by using Rest, but unfortunately, despite Shucky's best efforts, Dragon Rush does just a tad too much damage, and is able to just barely take him out in the 3 turns between rests. That last one was a high roll too. That sucks. I also find it rich that the one time that I try to use Dragon Rush with John, I end up missing, but this thing is able to hit 3 Dragon Rushes in a row, no problem. Well, Dragonite f***ed with Shucky, so Jimothy comes out and punches it in the face for a clean one-shot. Unfortunately, next is Aerodactyl. I have a Choice Scarf on Justin who will be able to outspeed it and kill it with Waterfall, but because he took so much damage from Charizard, I can't switch him in safely. which means we need a sacrifice here. So I bring in Jennifer, who gets hit with an aerial ace. And then on the next turn, a rock slide takes her out, bringing Lance's kill count to 2. Rest well, Jennifer. Justin comes in and revenge kills the Aerodactyl with a waterfall. Then Lance brings out his second Dragonite, and we have a similar situation to before. We need a safe switch to Jimothy, so it means it's time to sack John. I mean, theoretically, Dragonite could miss Dragon Rush here, and then we could clap back with a Dragon Rush of our own, but that doesn't happen, obviously. So yeah, John dies, making him by far the least useful of our 5 team members. But his sacrifice wasn't in vain, because Jimothy is able to come in and revenge kill the Dragonite. And then last is Lance's strongest Dragonite, but it too gets one shot by Jimothy, winning us the battle and the run with 2 Pokemon to spare. That was a much closer finale than I was expecting, but at the end of the day, we still did it. We made it to the Hall of Fame, and the challenge is won. But let's address the elephant in the room. Everyone always wants to see me challenge Pokemon Trainer Red in these Johto challenges. And honestly, I'm never all that thrilled to do it since I find the Kanto stuff to be a slog, especially if you play with strict level caps. But for this challenge, I was fully planning on doing it and making a part 2 to this video. Jennifer would have evolved into Togekiss, John would have evolved into Dragonite, and it would have been a lot of fun. But with just 2 Pokemon left, it's just not possible. The EXP alone would send me over the level cap of certain gyms, and Blue's Exeggutor completely murders Feraligatr and Hitmonchan at his level cap anyways. I could get a Mr. Mime from the Celadon Game Corner, but that's not really a gift Pokemon if I have to buy it. So I don't really have many options for this challenge here. But I figured that people would still want me to at least try Trainer Red, right? So what I decided to do is blow through Kanto and ignore the individual level caps for each of the gyms. With brute force and a little bit of luck, Jimothy and Justin were able to get through all 16 gyms. Blue did require being a bit over-leveled and using a Rindo Berry to survive a Leaf Storm with Justin, but I was able to eke out a win without any deaths. Honestly, the longest part of this was finding the second switch in Lieutenant Surge's gym. This has never happened to me before, but it took me well over 20 attempts to shut off the electric fences. It was absolutely maddening. But with all that, this gets us to the fight with Trainer Red on top of Mount Silver. His Pikachu is level 88, but I think that it's kinda lame to use that level cap since the Pikachu is obviously not very difficult. So I use a level cap of 84 to match his Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise. Let's see if Justin and Jimothy have what it takes to eke out a win against the strongest trainer in the game. Red leads with his Pikachu, which is a little scary since it has a light ball, but Jimothy is able to just punch it in the face and knock it out in one shot. Of course, it does paralyze Jimothy with static, but that doesn't really matter since Jimothy has now done his job. He's baited out Charizard, who hits a very strong Air Slash, which just barely doesn't kill. I go for a close combat here instead of a Thunder Punch, because I actually don't want to accidentally kill the Charizard with a critical hit. Another Air Slash finishes off Jimothy. Rest well, buddy. This lets Justin come in for free. Using some berries, I've reworked his EVs a bit to make it so that he's just fast enough to outspeed Charizard. The rest of it is dumped into attack, HP, and special defense. This lets him set up 2 Swords Dances and take not too much damage from Air Slash in the process. With 2 Swords Dances set up, Justin is able to one-shot the rest of Trainer Red's team. But you might see a problem here. Justin is taking Hail Chip from the permanent hail atop of Mount Silver. So, even though we are able to knock out Charizard, Venusaur, and Snorlax, Justin falls before we're able to finish off Red's last 2 Pokemon. And so, that's a wipe. The margins were so close there. I thought about holding a berry to get some more HP, but Justin needed to be holding a Soft Sand to guarantee the kill on Red's Lapras. If Justin had just a little bit more special bulk, or a little bit more attack so that I didn't have to be holding the Soft Sand, then maybe this was doable. But sadly, for now, I'll have to be content with wiping the Hail Chip. I mean, if I'm sad about anything, it's losing the Jolteon so haphazardly. The Jolteon would have made Lance significantly easier, and likely would have saved most, if not all of my deaths to him, giving us closer to a full team for Kanto and Trainer Red. But I guess it wasn't meant to be. With that, let's end the video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching, please like the video and subscribe. Or don't, I don't know. But I do know that you should follow me on Twitter and Twitch to keep up with streams of my future challenges, and you should also join the Flag on HG community Discord, where you can discuss Nuzlocking and make recommendations for future challenges. The links are in the description below. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always play around the critical hit.